supplemental work like that, typically the way it's worked is I've just said it'll take me this long to do, and I just work through Zubin. Because I just don't have, I mean,
you don't have anything
I have it all in my head, but putting it,
used?
I don't have anything that exactly does details what you're.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the other option is there's probably something online that, you know, I could find something online, but you know, which would probably, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, you could. There are,
like you mentioned that you have a You mentioned you have a landscape, right? Do you have any landscape drawings on how this landscape is structured? Do you have any content that you could forward to me readily?
Let me think.
Okay.
Let me think about it. I because I can. Yeah,
if you do, right? Otherwise, it's okay. If you can think of something, please definitely forward it. So then let's go into this existing supply chain of yours, right? In the retrofit market, who finally decides that a Johnson control system is going to be the HVAC or lighting or the software? Who is the main decision maker?
So I would say that the main decision maker is traditionally going to be the head of facilities. So it could be a director of facilities, facility manager. But I would say those individuals are typically reporting, it might be a couple levels, but they're going to be reporting to the CFO. Typically, these purchases are not I mean, it depends on how big the organization is, but typically these kinds of purchases are not going to need approval from the CFO. So you're going to have a budget as the director of facilities, the VP of facilities, the head of facilities, whatever, but the leader of facilities is typically going to say, I need to make improvements, I need to replace equipment, I need to repair equipment. They typically have a budget, and they're also putting together a capital budget to say, we expect, if the building is new today, you'll say, well, we expect in 15 years we will need to replace these things, and I'll need money allocated for that. And that individual would first get that money internally, and then would be able to decide who do we want to go to. And it could be a competitive bid. My sense is, just from what I've seen, is that the more of a competitive bid, the less the director of facilities is doing it himself. So that's when you bring in, maybe it's a consulting engineer, for example, that could help you manage the spec. There are now, for larger organizations, there are companies, there's one called Intelligent Buildings. That's just their name, Intelligent Buildings. I think they're based in North Carolina, or maybe South, but I think North Carolina. There's another one called Smart Buildings, again, really nondescript name, and they could, among others, help with that vendor selection process. But if you're just one building,
So you said two channels to market. One is the facilities head, and the second one is the engineering consulting firms who get called in. Now,
typically by the facilities.
And I'm hearing that a lot of times facilities management gets outsourced, right?
Yes. So that is a very good point, and that's something we haven't talked about yet. So you have companies like CBRE, Jones Lang LaSalle would be the big two. There's the name escapes me, but ABM is another one. In Europe, a big one is ISS. I don't really see them very much in America, but they're outsourced facility management companies, and they typically are focused on Fortune 500 or companies nearly that big. So you typically aren't going to find outsourced FM in, we have one large building. But maybe you could, because even the largest of the large companies sometimes just have 2 or 3 buildings. What they do typically is they just say, we're going to do everything under the FM umbrella. Now, you have you can maybe select certain things. So if if I've talked to CBRE in the past